Hey everybody, it is Nathan and Jess Selove, and we would like to wish you all a happy Autism Awareness Month. So to solve all problems in the autism community, Jess, are you aware that you're autistic?
Yes.
Do you feel any different?
No.
I don't think that worked. I don't think that solved any problems. So, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you probably know that we like to refer to Autism Awareness Month on this channel as Autism Acceptance Month. And the reason for that is really just awareness is just the first step.
Nathan's not the only person on the spectrum who refers to April as Autism Acceptance Month. But as he said, the theme seems to be around including autistic people in society and kind of trying to redesign the world to include people who are on the spectrum, which is great, but it did kind of bring us to thinking about acceptance and thinking about autistic self-acceptance.
Yeah. So it's important to make sure that we are fighting for a world that does work for all people on the spectrum.
Autism self-acceptance is pretty self-explanatory. It just means that you can recognize the potential challenges of being autistic while also celebrating who you are and the ways that you experience life differently as an autistic person. And it is one thing that you can do that does not rely on anyone else, because you cannot control the world. You can't control policies or legislation all the time. You can do certain steps to try to control those outcomes, but you can't do it all on your own. So autism self-acceptance is the one thing that you can do for yourself, by yourself, which for autistics like me is great because no other people.
For example, just the other day, I was working on my political podcast, The Perspectrum, and I was talking to my co-host Michael about some of the issues that we were discussing, and he commented on how it was kind of amazing that there were certain analyses that I just had passively in my mind that I could just throw out at any point, and he was just kind of like, well, The Perspectrum, brought to you by Nathan's Autism. And it was just kind of a really nice feeling of self-acceptance to realize, wow, it really is me being autistic that gives me the ability to keep all of that stuff in the back of my mind and just ready to whip out whenever I want.
And that is a good place to start with self-acceptance. If you are newly diagnosed or have been diagnosed for a long time, or maybe self-diagnosed, I think all of those folks have struggled with having a positive identity related to autism. I know that Nathan and I have at different times. That's understandable, but it is helpful to really examine what traits or interests you have that have led to something that you enjoy or are competent in. I know I'm a really detail-oriented person. That makes me pretty competent at certain tasks, and so things that might bother other people about working, if something is maybe a little bit more tedious or monotonous, actually is peaceful to me, and I can kind of zone out and do what I need to do.
Yeah, my special interests have brought me to different groups in which I've been able to interact with people and socialize with people that were interested in things that I was also interested in. And that has definitely been a huge thing in my life, and it's definitely helped me progress as a person and, you know, as a student, as someone in a career, and as an autistic.
And in some ways, my autism led me to Nathan.
Our relationship brought to you by Autism.
When I met Nathan, I kept saying, wow, I've never felt this comfortable around someone before when I just met them. This is very unusual. And he kept saying, you just haven't met enough autistics, which is not true. Turns out I had.
Yeah.
But that
Not
was
naming
something.
any names, of course.
But that was something that we kind of immediately connected, and we did know how to communicate with each other pretty quickly. Obviously, that's not all autistics. That is not to say that I get along with all autistics or they would all get along with me.
Oh, God,
it just worked out. It just worked out for both of us that we have a lot of similarities in terms of how we express ourselves and at least receive information.
Yeah. Now, all of that being said, it is also important to recognize that self-acceptance and autism acceptance in the general public is not to say that there aren't struggles that we go through, both on a personal level and on a societal level. We need to address those, and we need to figure out ways in order to work through them. Don't think that if you accept yourself that the world will automatically fall into place.
Yeah, part of self-acceptance and autism acceptance is actually implementing things that make it easier to navigate the challenges in your life because of your autism. So that could be self-accommodations or accommodations you ask for from others. I know that I'm not great at asking for accommodations on my own behalf. That is kind of nice because Nathan and I are a team, and so there are many times where I can focus.
Hey, tag me in.
There are many times where I can focus on getting him an accommodation, and it might be something that benefits me, but I can at least say, oh yeah, he really needs to get out of this crowd. Is there a quiet place we can go, or anything like that?
Sometimes we kind of like switch places being the more autistic person in the relationship.
Different things
Yeah.
trigger us, which is good.
Which is, complementing differences.
That is also another thing that helps is if you are able to see your autism as something that is helpful to you in some situations and more difficult to manage in others, you can kind of start to see what's valuable and important that you work through and find accommodations, or what can you cut out.
Yeah.
There are plenty of social norms that I used to try to force myself to follow because I thought that I had to, and it turns out no, there aren't really rules.
You definitely don't have to follow them around me.
There are rules for how you treat people. There are rules for how you can make someone feel accepted and respected and treated with dignity. And there are people who are just not going to like you because of your mannerisms. I experienced that quite a lot. But if you find people who celebrate who you are and enjoy the way you communicate and the way that you are, that can really go a long way towards backing that up. And they're kind of a feedback loop.
I'd be lying if I said that there aren't some points where I'm so annoyed with, how I am and how the world is that I sometimes think, damn, I wish I was neurotypical. Sometimes that has happened for me. But at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I like who I am. And I hope that other people can find things about themselves that they really can celebrate, regardless of whether you're autistic or neurotypical.
And for me, because I was diagnosed again later in life, I didn't actually know I was autistic until after I'd met Nathan and interacted with him and his family, and everyone around him kept saying, she's autistic, right? That was kind of something that I struggled with at first, but then it helped me to reprocess some of my experiences growing up and feeling like I didn't fit, like very much a square peg trying to fit into the round hole of the universe. And it was just nice to be able to realize, so this is why I can fit in some things and other things I don't have to. And I'm not deficient, I'm not defunct, I'm not broken. Yeah. I'm just different than
like
some other people.
Or like a dodecagon trying to fit into a square hole. You ever tried to do that?
You feel proud of that? Yeah, so for those who might be still struggling with finding positive aspects of autism, I would just encourage you to consider things that are in your life that are brought to you by autism. Whether that's your friends or a special way that you communicate with someone that you care about, or special interest that's brought you a lot of joy or calm and serenity over the years. Try to appreciate that.
The light bulb, # brought to you by autism, E equals MC squared, # brought to you by autism.
Many historical and celebrity figures, we're pretty sure.
Brought to you by autism, #.
We're looking at you, Thomas Jefferson. Also Ben Franklin.
And Thomas Edison.
Also Alexander Hamilton, hello.
Albert Einstein. Mozart.
Again, those are people that we can't necessarily confirm because autism didn't exist as a concept back then. But it is something that is worth maybe examining if you're struggling with trying to figure out your place in the world and how you can be successful, and has any autistic ever been successful. There are some figures that are generally agreed upon to have been autistic, and then there are some that people say maybe, maybe not, but sometimes you can at least learn about them, and if you admire certain things that they did or certain aspects of their personality that seem to mesh with autism, then you can at least find something to feel positive about.
Yeah. Socrates. That's my man right there.
You don't have to agree with everything they did. Really not.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Thomas Jefferson.
So this wasn't meant to be like super campy or like a you can do anything if you just accept yourself type of thing. But we really do hope that it helps put you on the path towards some kind of self-acceptance. And if you have self-acceptance, we hope that this reinforces that feeling in yourself. So I hope that you have a wonderful Autism Acceptance Month. That's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, support me on Patreon. And you will see me, and maybe her, we'll see, in the next one.